All right, it is about that time for another monthly podcast edition of Win or Lose Chiefs News. I am your host, Alex Liu. Please check out my blog on WordPress. I will leave a link to it in the description below. Everything that I write about once a month, in the offseason at least, covering the Chiefs. I will also put out a video here on my YouTube channel. I like to call this episode May OTAs, but we're going to get into a lot more than just OTAs. The long offseason continues. The last couple of videos that I came out with and what I wrote about on my blog was since the Super Bowl, and well, I didn't cover the Super Bowl, but since the end of the Chiefs' abysmal down year, 6-11 losing season, I wrote and podcasted about the free agency frenzy period in March and then the draft last month in April. So now, in this month, the Chiefs hosted their rookie minicamp at the beginning of the month, which I don't have too many thoughts on. What I was more excited about was the 2026 NFL schedule release that took place on May 14th. This past week, the last week of May, because at the time that I'm recording this is Saturday, May 30th, so I wanted to squeeze out this video just before the end of the month. The first round of OTAs are done. The other couple of things that I'm going to talk about heading into next month is key storylines for two players in particular: Patrick Mahomes, his recovery, his rehab, his progression towards hopefully still being ready for week 1. That's his goal. And then also the Rashee Rice off the field issue saga continues, unfortunately, and he is in jail. Okay, so let's play a little bit of good news, bad news here. All right, I like to start with the bad news. Let's just get that shit out of the way. Rashee Rice is in jail. Almost 2 weeks ago now at this point, he did test positive for marijuana while on probation, violating the strict terms of his probation that he has to stay away from drugs and alcohol. And this is all stemming from the Dallas car crash 2 years ago that, let's also remind ourselves here, Chiefs fans, that he's lucky that no one was killed and that this wasn't like Henry Ruggs III and he wasn't in prison already. And potentially in prison for life or for a very, very long time. So he got a second chance pretty much right off the bat. A 5-year probation, and I think that he was already going to have to serve some kind of jail time at some point if he hasn't already, or however he's splitting it up. I can't really remember all the details around that, but he was sentenced to 30 days in jail for violating his probation. And then, interesting timing, there was kind of a sequence of stories that came out reporting that in addition to the probation violation and the jail time, he also had a minor cleanup surgery procedure done on the same right knee that I think he tore his ACL when Mahomes collided with him in that Chargers game 2 years ago. There's been a lot of talk and kind of question over, like, how is he going to rehab from a jail cell? The procedure sidelined him for 2 months anyway, but rather than being able to, go to the Chiefs facility, start that rehab in time for training camp, maybe it was the plan all along that he was going to have that procedure done, assuming that this was communicated between him and the Chiefs and their, medical training staff and the coaches and everything. But it's just unfortunate that there's that, and then he's in jail, and so he's missing both rounds of OTAs. He's missing the veteran mandatory minicamp. Emphasis on the mandatory because OTAs are actually voluntary, even though most players, and not just on the Chiefs, actually they attend and participate in those. But overall, the bottom line is Rashee Rice is expected to be back healthy and available for training camp. Andy Reid has just said that it's just going to be a matter of getting him caught up to speed. Now, he's familiar with the Chiefs system and the offense. Obviously, he's been part of this team since I think 2023. But you bring back in Eric Bieniemy. Rashee Rice, I don't think he ever played under Bieniemy, so that's going to be an introduction, a little bit of a transition. Things are going to look different this year, so it's just unfortunate. But what I think about the most is, should this be considered Rashee Rice's final warning? Is this the last straw? And the reason I wonder if this should be his final warning is because it's not just the Dallas car crash and now this probation violation. He's had 2 other incidents, one involving his ex-girlfriend, some kind of domestic violence abuse allegation, and then another assault allegation on a photographer at a nightclub. 2 separate cases, but both were eventually dropped because there was not enough proof or evidence to push things forward to a point of any kind of punishment or charging of a crime. So otherwise, who really knows what happened, what's true, but it's just not a good look. So these are like 4 things within 2 years that, with Rice entering the final year of his rookie contract, if he can't turn things around off the field and character-wise, and believe me, I love Rashee Rice. I want to be in his corner. I want to root for him. But if things don't change for the better, I just think we're going to have to move on, and we're going to have to not extend and sign him to a long-term deal and try to find his replacement. So I want to see better leadership and accountability on and off the field. I want him to be a real leader and true wide receiver 1 if that's what he's going to be on this team. So that's the Rashee Rice stuff. It's unfortunate. I'm just hoping that he takes this time in jail to do the best he can to rehab, however that looks, on his own, and that he does some serious thinking about when he comes back. There cannot be any more of these hiccups, these slip-ups with the probation stuff. Like, that's got to be taken care of. Like, literally go to the facility day in and day out, go home, and just do not do anything else to get yourself in trouble. Because the last thing we need is for him to do this during the season, and he goes and spends more jail time during the season, and then he's not available to play. And first and foremost, life and everyone's health and safety and all the long-term health and physical and mental health traumatic impacts and effects from those people from the Dallas car crash, that is first and foremost most important. Football comes next, but I want to see better out of Rashee Rice. Otherwise, unfortunately, I just think he needs to go if he's not going to turn things around. Okay, so that's Rashee Rice. Rookie minicamp, like I said, not a whole lot of takeaways. I mean, it is exactly that. It's a minicamp. I just kind of laugh when I see a lot of these overreactions to very few photos and videos that we get to see from off-season practices in general. But your first look at the rookies, this is like kind of initial player orientation for them. They're starting to learn the playbook, getting acclimated to some of the coaches, the trainers, the staff. It's also an evaluation period for the undrafted free agents that we picked up, along with every other team following the draft, and then try out players who get an invite. So at this point in the offseason, they're filling out I think it's like 90-man roster that you're going to pretty much take with you to training camp. So that's really what it is. Social media just creates way too much hype. A lot of this stuff just doesn't really translate into real football outcomes for me. So rookie minicamp, it came, it happened. It took place. That's really about it for me. I'm not going to look too deeply into, oh wow, this guy made a great catch or this person looks slow. Like, I don't care about a lot of that. Criticize me if you want to, but it just doesn't really matter that much. It's a rookie minicamp. It's 3 days of, hey, these guys got drafted. They're coming from college. Let's get their first initial workout in before they join the veterans at OTAs. Okay, so let's move on to the schedule release because we're going in chronological order here. This is definitely something I was looking forward to a lot more than any of the mini camps. I wish I could attend a Chiefs game this year. I will if I can, but TBD on that. Overall, I'm just looking forward to being able to watch games locally and not having to get Sunday ticket. Finally, being a Chiefs fan, moving into the Kansas City market for a change. But some interesting schedule notes. The Chiefs face both the Seattle Seahawks and the LA Rams in the preseason and the regular season. And I think the NFL did that intentionally. It's probably obvious if you're a diehard Chiefs fan like me. Clearly, because the Chiefs acquired Kenneth Walker III, a.k.a. K9, who is the Seahawks Super Bowl MVP, they want to see Kenneth Walker go up against his former team. The same can be said with the Rams. The Chiefs traded away Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, their top 2 cornerbacks, in free agency to the Rams. Now, things already lined up that the Chiefs were going to play the NFC West in this coming season. They get both of these teams at home in the preseason, and then they go on the road for both of these teams in the regular season. I think the Rams game is the first preseason game, so the starters are only going to play one series. So, it'll be our first look at Jay Watt and Trent McDuffie in Rams uniforms for a series. And then the Seahawks, that's the third preseason game. We might get to see Kenneth Walker for a half against his former team. But then again, like I said, those are two primetime games. I think it's Sunday Night Football and Thursday Night Football that we're going to see those teams in the regular season on their home fields. One of the things that I hate about the Chiefs schedule is that we have the earliest bye week possible, week 5. And I just think it's dumb when you play 17 games in a regular season to have a bye week before week 7. Like, I understand that they have to fill out the television slate for primetime competitive games. So you're only going to have like 2 to 4 teams, I think, usually from weeks 5 to like week 13 or 14, maybe week 15, given bye weeks. But the Chiefs basically play a month of football, get a break, and then they're going to play 3 months straight without a break. So it's unfortunate. I hate having a bye week that early, but it is what it is. You can't do anything about it, and that's probably one of the elements that factors into the Chiefs' schedule being hard, is it is going to be a gauntlet after the bye. So I don't really think there's going to be a whole lot of too much talk or too much that we can look into in terms of people always saying that Andy Reid has a historically good record in the first game coming off of a bye week, just because coming off of a bye week after week 5, you've played 4 games. So that to me doesn't really, I don't really look, I'm not going to look too much into that. It's not like years past where the Chiefs have a bye week in like week 9, week 10, week 11. You've played more games up to that point. I think I mentioned it, another primetime heavy schedule. I want to say the Chiefs have like, let's see what they got. Well, their first 2 games at home against the Broncos and the Colts are on Monday night and Sunday Night Football. They play the Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. They play Thanksgiving night in Buffalo. The very next week, they play at the Rams on Thursday Night Football. And then the week after that, they play at the Bengals. That's most likely going to be a primetime afternoon game on CBS with fucking Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, who I cannot stand. And then we got to play the Patriots on Monday Night Football back at Arrowhead before then playing the 49ers at Arrowhead. So even outside of 6 primetime games, a lot of their potentially Fox, but definitely CBS, their non-primetime games, there's still going to be some that are like primetime in the sense that they're going to get the national spotlight. They're going to get that like CBS Fox slot where it's on national TV and you're getting like Jim Nantz and Romo, and then you're getting Tom Brady and whatever that other guy's name is on Fox. I think probably one of the toughest stretches, like I mentioned, is Buffalo, LA, Cincinnati, all in a row, all on the road. 3 games in a row on the road against those 3 very tough teams. Last year, the only AFC West team they beat was the Raiders in that 31-0 shutout. Obviously, the game at the last Raider game didn't really mean much. Neither did the Broncos Christmas night game. I think the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to start the season, because, well, let me just say this. The biggest thing is I just want us to avoid a slow start like we did last year. Got to change our luck this year in one-score games. I don't like to look at the schedule the way I did as a kid, where I go week by week, and they do this on NFL Network every year, and it drives me nuts. They look at week by week, and they say, this team should win these games, but lose these games. That means nothing to me, because a lot of things are going to change and depend on who's hurt, who's not, when are we hot, when are we cold, winning and losing streaks. And all of these games, honestly, are going to be tough. I mean, a lot of these games are just going to be tough because, as we know and as we've seen, pretty much all teams play the Chiefs close and very tough. I was actually kind of surprised last year that we beat the Ravens as easily as we did. And I know Lamar Jackson got hurt in that game, but the Chiefs, other than the first drive by the Ravens, they just pretty much dominated and turned that game around come like early to mid-second quarter, if I can remember correctly. So a lot of these games are going to be tough, even the non-primetime games. Moving on to Patrick Mahomes and just his overall status and update. Like I mentioned earlier, good-looking progress on his recovery and his rehab. The goal is still for him to be available week 1. I really wouldn't even be mad if we went with Justin Fields week 1 just to make sure Mahomes is absolutely ready to go come like week 2 or week 3. But if Mahomes is ready to go and he's trending upward for week 1, I'm fine with it. I obviously would rather to see Mahomes in there than anybody, but I care first and foremost about his health long term, not just short term. Training camp and the preseason is going to be the ultimate test to really see, can he run and cut? Can he extend plays with his legs? Can he protect himself? Can he get outside the pocket and be effectively mobile? You know, he has said in some of the pressers during OTAs that his limitation right now is actually benefiting him because he's being forced to simulate standing in the pocket, going through his reads and progressions and the entire play concept from start to finish because he can't move around. But I think while that can be beneficial and a positive, as long as it's paired well with a positive running game that hopefully really is new and improved, I just wonder, our defense is going to try to rely on rushing 4 and sitting back and dropping 7 or 8 in coverage, banking on the fact that he most likely won't be able to be fully mobile until the end of 2026, if it holds true what a lot of sports doctors have estimated his type of injury and the recovery and how long it'll take for him to really get to a point where he is fully confident in the mobility side and being able to, like I said, actually cut and juke, make a little bit more aggressive movements when running. But then again, Patrick Mahomes, I mean, the guy is just a freak of nature athlete. Most people, and I get that ACL injuries are not as bad, not that they're not as bad, but the recovery and rehab process is not as long as it used to be, just with today's medicine and medical technology and just a lot of the different techniques and therapies that they are using. But Mahomes, I mean, the guy just, even when he gets hurt, it's like he's just able to do a lot and get back quicker than a lot of other quarterbacks and players in general. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, overall, like I've been saying all offseason, I just hope that our running game does reduce the pressure on him. And, we can really lean on that because defenses will have to think twice and not just account for Mahomes and maybe lack of mobility early on, but they'll have to think twice if our running game can actually have an impact and make a difference and not force us to be one-dimensional and teams just really honing in on us just being a pass-heavy team. So outside of that, with Mahomes, just in general with OTAs, it's great to see that just about, I think, all Chiefs players were present, participated, and attended OTAs, except for Rice, of course. Even Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, the veterans, they had some days off. They didn't participate in, I think, all of the practices and activities, but they were at least there. This coming week, in the very beginning of June, we've got OTAs Group 2. As I mentioned, there is that mandatory veteran minicamp from June 9th through 11th. Rice is going to miss both of those key offseason events. I don't think he's getting out of jail until June 15th or 16th. And then he's still sidelined due to recovery and rehab of his recent knee procedure. And then training camp will start in late July. So this has pretty much been the May recap and things that I wanted to kind of highlight and touch on. Just get on here, make a video, kind of touch base a little bit of where we're at in the off season. We are pretty much about to start summer. We're almost just about to be into June. So content-wise, going down this summer stretch, we'll have a June blog post and video covering the second round of OTAs and that veteran minicamp. Between June and July, we might just incorporate this into these podcasts, but I did kind of want to see, kind of reaction photos, videos of how things go in the 2026 FIFA World Cup that Arrowhead is hosting some of the games for. In July, we'll do that training camp. We'll do kind of like a part 1 training camp. In August, we'll sort of do part 2 training camp, and we'll cover preseason for the most part. August, we might do a separate blog post, and I might do another vlog cast similar to what I did for the road trip to the Chiefs-Raiders game last season, because as we move from Maryland to Kansas City, the Kansas City area on the Missouri side of the border, I want to document that journey and really kind of starting this next chapter for myself and for Win or Lose Chiefs News. I can't wait to be blogging and doing podcasts, living within actual Chiefs Kingdom, in the Kansas City market. Really excited for that. I think right now, general overall offseason outlook, the biggest question is, are the Chiefs going to be good enough coming back this year, bouncing back from that down year, 6-11 record, losing season, missing the playoffs for the first time in Mahomes' career? Can the Chiefs return to the playoffs? Can they make a playoff run? Is it reasonable to expect them to bounce back and be a potential Super Bowl contender or make another Super Bowl appearance? No one knows, but a lot of this is going to hinge on Mahomes' health, Rashee Rice's availability. Is our running game really going to improve? Has the defense taken a step backward? And are we going to go through kind of a growing pain period where for the last couple of years, the Chiefs defense has gotten really good? When Mahomes first entered as the starter, our defense was not very good, but Mahomes and the offense made up for it. Over the years, we've gone more defense heavy, and the offense has kind of suffered. Now we've kind of had to reload on both sides, but the offense definitely still has some weak spots, I think. I saw a very interesting comment on Instagram. Someone claimed that they believe the Chiefs are in somewhat of a 2-year mini rebuild period. And I have to say, I don't disagree with that. I think that another reason why I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to invest going to a Chiefs game this year, just outside of, personal financial situation, all of that, making a big move out there, needing to get settled, all of that. This might actually be, I feel a similar way about the Royals right now. Like, the Royals are not doing great right now. The Chiefs are coming off a down year. It's hard to say if they're going to really bounce back or if this is going to take a year or two. And that's why I'm not super pressed on rushing Mahomes back. I'd rather his long-term health be what is most secure and our biggest focus, as opposed to us rushing him back, him re-aggravating something, and us further delaying. And I don't want to see the Chiefs take or waste the next year or two on health concerns, all for the sake of trying to get back into the playoffs and chase championships. I would rather us play the long game. I've said that before. But then again, on the flip side, even though I believe Travis Kelce signed a 3-year extension, it was either 2 or 3 years, even though this could very well be his last season, maybe the Chiefs are kind of all in on, well, we've got Kelce back for another year, and we've got to try to chase winning a championship every year we can, that we have Mahomes and Reid and we brought Eric Bieniemy back. By no means do I think that this team is going to be the same as it was, or can it get back to necessarily what it was in 2018, 2019, 2020 when we had EB, even 2021 and 2022. I think that this team understands and realizes that it's going to have to continue evolving, adapting, and this is going to be Eric Bieniemy's second stint. So almost like 2.0 in a way. This is going to be like V2. We can't just think that we're going to go back to the way things used to be, even if we were to do something crazy like bring Tyreek Hill back. So that's kind of my outlook. I want to believe that the Chiefs can really come out of the gates with a lot of energy and have some redemption and some revenge on last season. But like Andy Reid has said, I mean, the NFL, things move quickly from year to year. You got to just flush it and move on. I don't want to dwell too much on the past and just look at, I mean, last year I was thinking, oh, that needs to be a revenge year for the Eagles Super Bowl. Well, any year that's a failure, you could look at it as this is going to be a revenge or redemption type of year. So I think we need to get that out of our heads and just let's look at 2026 as a new year, fresh, clean slate. We've got some young guys. We kind of moved on from a big bulk of most of the 2022 draft class. We just need to keep moving forward with our core unit of players that we have invested in long term. And I would like, as much as I know that the Chiefs, offensive and defensively, Spags, EB, and Andy Reid, all of them are great minds. And so their systems and schemes are very complex. But I would like to see us kind of slow some things down at times, be a little bit more simple and practical, run the ball, old school smash mouth football at times, and hopefully, for the love of God, protect Patrick Mahomes and defense get after the quarterback. So those are all some things as we're really kind of starting to get into the football mindset heading into June. We'll monitor these upcoming training mini camps before we get into training camp in the end of July. So that's going to do it for this podcast episode edition. Check out my blog, watch some of the other videos on my channel, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, supporting. Let's go Chiefs.